All right, you guys, we're back here at Social Media Marketing World at the Ecamm live booth, and it is the one, the only Jeff Sieh, founder, creator, manly Pinteresting tips.
That's Pinterest tips. You can say
Pinterest tips? Pinterest
Pinteresting. Yeah, that's all right. It's not trademarked or anything. You're fine.
That's very true. Okay, so then you also help non-designers learn how to be more creative and create designs.
That's what we're talking about this week, visual marketing for non-designers here at Social Media Examiner. So,
Yeah.
exciting stuff.
I feel like people always walk away from your sessions like, what? I didn't know that was possible.
There's tons of apps out there, and so we talk. Well, this year we're talking a lot about creativity. How one of the things that people, every creator that I've talked to or interviewed has those times where they're slumping. It's like I don't know what to talk about. And so one of the things I talk about is using some of these tools to always be collecting.
Like curating.
Yes. So like I like to use Evernote. So I use Evernote a lot. Like if I see something or Stephanie says something really witty from stage, that I'll write it down, so I can make a quote graphic from her later or something. But I'm always using that because we just get tired.
Yeah.
And we need to go back and figure out stuff. And so I have this place where I can always go inside of it and,
and you put it in your Evernote.
I do, and then I tag it with certain things. Like I do hashtag blogging, hashtag, jokes or quotes, and so I have it all, so it's all set up so I can do that. Yeah,
that's so cool. Is this Evernote thing? Is that a Mike Alton thing too?
Well, Mike and I have been using Evernote for a long time, but I found that's the easiest thing for me. Now, some people just use Notepad in their phone or whatever. You don't have to do it, but I like that because I can use it across all my devices.
I love it. Okay, so when you're designing for the non-designers, what platform are you recommending for them?
Well, there's a bunch of great ones out there. I mean, Canva is one everybody talks about, but my current favorite is Easel.
Yes, high five.
Okay, good. Well, one of the reasons why is because it is one of, I can when I'm doing Pinterest stuff, I can scroll through and go, oh, there's a Canva pin.
Ooh.
Oh, there's a Canva
that's
pin.
right. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so Easel they're made up of designers, and so they have tons of stuff coming out. They also have tons of templates for Instagram stories. And so I really like what they do there. And one of the hacks I talk about in my talk is for both Canva and Easel, you can do this. And a lot of people go to those template sites and then they just type their title in, their text, and they hit publish.
Oh.
That's why you can go, oh, that's a Canva pin. Oh, there's a Canva
pin.
So what I teach them is to create 2 different pages, find 2 different templates that you like, but then start dragging things back and forth of each other and mixing it up so it doesn't look like everybody else.
It doesn't feel so very cookie cutter.
That's an easy way to kind of get your own design but still use templates.
How do you get people to ease off on all of the I'm going to use multiple fonts.
Right.
Like every single line is going to be a different font, and I like this font because it looks like a scribble and it looks pretty.
I always tell people only use 2 if you're going to do. I like 1, and then doing different weights of that font. So weights when we're talking about bold or semi-bold, those kind of things you can put on fonts. And I like to use just 1. But if you have to, you can use 2. But don't use that many. I'll tell you a great tool for that is Canva has what they have a font. Comparison where you can see what fonts look good with each other, and that's on their website, and that's really cool.
Yeah. Have you created any of your own? Have you just been from a manly Pinterest tips perspective?
So my whole kind of style is retro, so I try to get the kind of the old retro fonts and the kind of stuff like that. So there's some standard ones that I like, but a good place if you're I need fonts, and I need font pairings is what it's called. And you can go to Pinterest and just search that. And there's all these people put these pins together, the fonts that look good, and most of them are free. You can click on that pin and you can go download it and use it in your design. So it's really cool.
I didn't realize this, but so I had been working with Design Pickle, which I heard that you had mentioned before.
I've used them.
And so when I was working with them and we were talking about font pairings, I was like, oh, I want this and I want that. And they're like, well, how about this? And I was like, well, why did you recommend that? They're like, oh, well, because you'd have to buy the license for the one that you originally suggested.
And
I had never realized that. Can you expand on why that's important?
Yeah. So, in fact, what I had done is I had created a manly plunder site where I was selling T-shirts, and I was using it mostly to experiment with how Shopify worked with Pinterest. But I worked with Design Pickle, and they had all they made a bunch of T-shirts for me.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I realized, you can use a lot of these fonts in your design, but when you stick that font on a coffee mug or on a T-shirt, that changes it to commercial, and you have to have the commercial version of that font.
Oh.
So a lot of the ones that we can use in design, we think, oh, it's great. You could do that for clients. You could make like a presentation. You can use it like for a video presentation. But when you put it on a printed product, that changes the whole nature of it. And a lot of people don't know that. And they are starting to go after people who are using that, just like Getty was going after people who are using their stock images. They're starting to do that with fonts now, and so you have to be really careful, especially how easy it is to do e-commerce right now, and print your own T-shirt and all that stuff. You have to make sure that font is
okay. That's super helpful. Because when they brought that up, I was not even thinking about it at all. Mm-hmm. Like what was playing in my mind was like, this looks pretty. And it looks good together. And so when she brought that up, I was like, what do you mean? Because I had already envisioned how it would pan out, what events I could get stuff made. Right. Yeah. So let's talk about images. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts? Like, should people be shooting their own images, or should they be using stock images?
If they can, it's always better so I always tell people, I'm not a good photographer. I'm a great stock photographer. And so... is that a tagline? No,
that needs to be
something like that.
That should be a shirt.
That's right.
I'm a great stock photographer. With your own business card.
Right. So, if you can do your own images, that is the best way to go, because those are yours. You know what you want. You can use them how you want to. I use one of my favorite places to use is Deposit Photo, and the reason is there's a place called AppSumo that has these sales every year, and you can get all these credits for Deposit Photo, and I really like their thing. I think they're really great, and so I buy those every year, and I have probably thousands of credits. Because it's such a good deal. And so I get those, and the thing I like about Deposit Photos, and this goes back into kind of a non-designer hack, is I really like the sites that have stuff built in to help you curate things. So Deposit Photo has a light box, or a place where you can actually put different images. So I'll be browsing for stuff say for Social Media Examiner, and I'm like, that's a great photo, but it doesn't really work for Social Media Examiner, but it does work for Tailwind. And I'm like, so I'll drag it and put it in the Tailwind folder. So it's a place I can go when I'm dry and I don't know what to, I need an image, but I've already got it curated to use. So that's one of the things I like about Deposit Photo, and also syncs with Dropbox and some other cool stuff.
Oh, that's amazing.
And with stock photos, one of the things I tell people is always buy the biggest you can, or download the biggest you can from a free site like Unsplash or something like that.
Because you could resize it later. Is that why?
You can always shrink it down, but you can't ever
blow
without it pixelating. And so my thing is when you do it, don't just use it like everybody else is. Blow it up, twist it, scale it in a unique way before you put it inside of Canva or Easel or whatever. And that way, another way to make it uniquely yours. And if you have a bigger photo, you have more pixels to play with.
Yeah. Dude, that's so interesting. I love this conversation.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's talk also about live streaming, because you produce multiple live stream shows. I was on yours just a couple weeks ago.
That's right, the Friday show.
So when it comes to live streaming, are you creating the graphics for it? Does someone else create them?
It depends on the client. Sometimes I do create them. Sometimes they have them already done. So for Kim Garst's show that she does, she is sponsored by a certain company, and so they provided all the stuff, and we just put it together and made it look nice. But depending on it, branding, and you know this because you brand shows, and so in fact your show is one I use in my talk a lot because you have that really cool opening where you're inside a computer, and that catches people's attention in the live stream, and you're always trying to, everything you try to do is you always want to stand out from the feed, and you do have a great example of that. And so we put it together depending on the package, but it depends on the software we're using and what the client needs.
Yeah. Any recommendations on how to make your graphics stand out in live streaming without it being too busy or taking away from the show itself?
Right. So what I like to do, and this is this can get really intense, but Stephanie and I have been doing it for such a long time, but I like to switch cameras quite a bit.
Yeah.
So one thing's if I'm on Facebook, I really like to go to when there's let's say Kim is interviewing a guest, or you were on the Friday show. I like to, when the guest starts talking, I like to cut to them. Mm-mm. One, it having that movement in the feed makes people stop and what's going on. It's just another thing. So I like to have it on the tied on the guest, and then when they start talking again, I go back to the two shot.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot, and I try to. I don't want to have too much graphics on it.
Oh,
because,
okay.
Now I'll pull questions in. I love it. We've had people at Social Media Examiner take screenshots of their question on screen and actually put it on Instagram.
Oh, cool!
And people will stick around to the end of the live stream because they may have a chance of their question being answered. And any package you get, I always it has to bring up comments.
Yeah.
It's so important because people love to see their avatar and their question on screen, and they become super fans when you do that.
So when knowing that your run of show is going to include comments from your viewers, right. Is there a specific design or limitations that you have? You're don't put anything in the bottom because we're going to show comments, or how do you handle that?
So it depends on the client, and it depends on how we're going to repurpose it.
Okay.
So some of the software I use will actually capture it without the lower third, and that's great because that allows you to repurpose it very easily. But most of the time, I try to build into the show places where we could pull in comments naturally.
Yeah.
And so we can come back in and do it. And so if we repurpose it, we know that section is we can cut that out if we need to. And so it's kind of a natural flow progression because I like to, do a kind of a show flow, and we're talking about stuff and we're bringing the guests in, and then we can okay, let's pause here. And I'm seeing the comments the entire time, and I know which ones would fit into the thing we just talked about.
Yeah.
And then I pull those up.
Oh, nice. Okay, so knowing that you're repurposing content, with one live video, how do you actually repurpose it from a creative design perspective?
Okay, well, from creative design perspective, so I always, and I just learned this for the past year or so, is I always start with a transcript. So the first thing we do after a live video is we put it to a transcript. And
Which one do you use?
There's a couple of them. A lot of them will use Rev, but I've doing a new one right now that actually lets me edit the transcript and it edits the audio at the same time, and so it's really fast.
Yeah, which one is that?
It's the script. And so it's amazing.
Yeah.
Have I told you about it?
I know what I use, and I'm hoping that it's the same one. What is it?
It's Descript.io.
Oh, Descript.io.
Yeah.
No, I haven't used that one.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
I've been using Otter.ai.
Oh, I got to talk to you. Because it's really, it'll blow your mind. But you can
Really?
Yeah. I'm using it for Guy Kawasaki's podcast. I'm using it for Kim's stuff and everything.
Really?
Yes.
What's the plan for that?
So I don't know the cost of it. It's not that expensive, but the thing is, so we start with the transcript. So we get into that, and it does a really pretty decent. I think it's a little bit better than Otter.io, which is great. You can use Otter. It's a great software. But then I see where usually a good question and answer is a lot of times a minute and a half.
Yeah.
And so I like to grab the question, answer, and I take that, and then I can output that little section, and then I take it, once I have that clip out, I take it to Premiere, and now Premiere has this new auto resize sequence.
Oh, what?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So I take it to Premiere, and I can say I want it to go square for Instagram. I want it to be a vertical video for Instagram Stories.
Yeah.
I want it to have this, and it will auto do it. And even if there's motion, the AI will track it, and it'll center it. And
this is in Premiere?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And it makes it so much faster to repurpose content. So I take one big clip out of my main transcript, throw it to Premiere, and able to take it and then chop it up in those 3 different things. And since it's a transcript, I can export that as an SRT file, which is I can burn in captions on all of those that I want to. And Premiere. Oh, sorry, I'm spitting everywhere. I'm so excited.
It's okay. You're the last interview. You can spit on it all you want.
So, just, disinfect this tonight. But what happens is then I can take it, and since it's an SRT file, I can burn it right there in there, and it's perfectly timed out in the Premiere timeline. And because I was using those ones where you would take the clip and you would upload it, and then AI do it. That's just another step, and I don't have to do that now.
And you're doing all this. It's not like you have an intern or a VA or another team.
It's so fast. Now, it's one of the things that I'll be able to pass off to some of our team, but it takes no time.
Wow.
And it's so quick to do this for clients.
So let's say. Oh, okay. Well, I'm enjoying this conversation.
It's the camera.
Sorry.
You're all right.
That was really good. I have to hold on to this question. Right here.
It's the camera.
I haven't used Premiere. I've still been doing the export the SRT file into something like Headliner.
See, that's what I was doing too, and it was so freaking long to do.
But is Premiere easy to use?
Yes.
That was the part where I was like...
I could get on a call with you in 15 minutes and show you how to do it.
Because that's all that I
Do you
want
have?
to
Do you have?
I will get it.
Okay.
I could totally get...
and we're back.
So we were talking about SRT files and how we're repurposing things, and Jeff is obviously blowing my mind about like all the new features that Premiere has because as I was explaining to him, I usually take like the SRT file and I'd upload it into a different web-based platform and do all that. And he's like, I could hop on a call with you for 15 minutes and get this done.
Because I was in the same boat, because then you'd have to upload it to one of those transcribing things in the
Yeah.
AI. Then you'd have to fix the AI thing again for the, and it's great for if you had to do like one little clip, but when you're processing lots from a show, because
Yeah.
a lot of times we'll do like 45 minutes an hour show, and there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
And you can get a lot of clips, and I'm always telling people, squeeze all the juice out of your content
Yes, he does.
you can, not do that. So, and not just go to the next thing. So, this is great. I mean, because it just is so fast.
I'm like so fascinated by this. All right, so we're going to take a quick 30-second break. Katie is going to go ahead and let you know about the Leap into Live Streaming boot camp that we have coming up next month, so that way you could kick off like your live streaming. Cool. So one of the things that I love about live video is that you could repurpose it. And obviously we've talked about taking the transcript, how Premiere has this really cool thing, how you could resize it. That's awesome. So when you're working with clients, are you saying, come work with me and I will give you a live video that then turns into X amount? Right. Yeah?
Yeah. So, I mean, because once they realize how much stuff they can get from one live show, and you know this because you do live producing too, it's like sometimes their mind is blown. It's like, oh my gosh, I can sit down and do one show like once every other week or once a week or once a month, and I have all this content I can put up there. It blows their mind, and I think that's why I love live video so much, is because it's the one, it lets you connect with people worldwide. You get super fans. Once you start doing live video, you'll know, like, oh, Susie's here every week. Hey, Susie, thank you so much for being here. That is awesome. If you have any questions, make sure you let me know. And you can just build this instant, community with people. But then being able to take that, and those super fans, when you start chopping up that video that they were a part of, they're going to share it. And so it's pretty amazing, the reach and the stuff you can do with live video. So, and one thing about Ecamm is, even if you I don't want to go live, I'm just kind of figuring out this live video thing.
Yeah.
And you just want to record it yourself. Ecamm has a great way to do that. You can just, turn on your camera, hit record, and just go live to your desktop, and then you can take that and repurpose it as well. So, when we're talking about all this kind of freaky head, live video stuff, you could just use Ecamm to record it and do all the cool stuff, and get your feet wet and still have these clips you can chop up without going live. So that's one thing that Ecamm I really like.
Well, and then you also mentioned something that I feel like most people haven't heard of before, and it's called Remote Live Producer. Can you explain what that is?
Oh, we're on the cutting edge there.
Yes,
Stephanie. So a lot of people don't want to press all the buttons, and Stephanie are nerds, and we really like to press the buttons and figure out all this stuff, but a lot of people don't. They just want to go on camera and talk and have somebody else run the comments. So both Stephanie and I do this, is we sit down and we either are on camera helping them and they're like a co-host or a co-presenter, or we're totally off screen and we're bringing up the comments for them. We're switching if there's a video that needs to be played, or there needs to be, they need to have a switch in the camera like we talked about earlier, that we do that behind the scenes. You never see us, or we're there and the other person just shows up. And so that's a service that is getting more and more popular because of the technology.
It's so interesting because the first time someone said to me, Stephanie, I just want to sit down in front of the camera and not have to worry about the buttons. Would you do that? How much would that cost? I was like, wait a second. This is a whole new revenue channel. And so you're obviously doing this for other people.
Right.
Yeah. How's that working out for you? Do you like it?
It is really great. So it's kind of, I have the best of both worlds. Like for Tailwind, I am one of the co-hosts, and I do that, and I'm also producing. Now that's a lot to do. I do not recommend that for if you're just starting out, because I've had everything that could happen go wrong, and I mean, when you're first starting, it's kind of, it can be overwhelming. And I've been doing this, and Stephanie probably as well, from the Google Plus days, back in Google Hangouts, all that kind of stuff, back in super nerd territory. But you don't have to do that right away, but that's one of the things I really like. I like being on camera and also producing, and then other times I just show up and they'll just hear my voice going, kind of like you do with Mr. Mike Alton. And we just hearing the voice, and I'm like, okay, you guys ready? Okay, here we go. And then
you run everything for them.
Yeah.
It's so cool because you could be a live streamer in front of the camera, and then once you master that craft, now there's another service that you can offer. And most people, they hadn't even thought of that before, because like my one friend, Mary Fane Brandt, who does LinkedIn, right? She had early access to LinkedIn Live beta.
Right.
And then once other people realized that she had access, she's like, well, let me do a virtual summit.
Ah, there you go.
And then now that became a service where she's like, let's do your virtual summit on LinkedIn, which is where most of like the most affluent people are. I will run the show for you. We'll do the landing page, all of this stuff. And then she's like, wait a second. I'm a LinkedIn Live producer. And I was like, uh-oh, new title.
That's right. That's right. It's very, very cool. So, yeah, and so, I mean, if you're wanting to get your feet wet, this is the platform to do it on, because it's so easy, and you can record yourself, and it looks great, and there's all the things that you need to make I mean, I would have killed for this kind of stuff.
Back in the day.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's so much easier now, you guys. I mean, back when I was using OBS Studio, did you ever play that with OBS Studio?
I did play with the OBS Studio a lot when I first started, and it was great. And then I played with pretty much everything that had.
Yeah, I mean, it was the best resource that we had at that time.
Right.
And then now that things are becoming so much easier and almost effortless, it's just like Ecamm's the way to go.
Yeah, it's like a television studio in your pocket.
That's true. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to go ahead and let Joe... I'm excited. It's the last day. I'm going to go let Jeff go get some rest, and I get some rest. All right, bye, guys.